What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode. So, I really want to dive in the playoff discussion, the top four specifically, just how I think the matchups are going to align, and who I think is going to show up, show out, and ultimately win the national championship. So, let's dive into it. If you haven't dropped a sub below, please leave a comment, question, or concern. If you got anything, give me your take in the comments. I'll respond to it as quick as I can. I think, me listening to some fans' comments and concerns, I think it's great. We can bicker back and forth if we disagree. If we agree, hey, just keep watching then. All right, let's dive into it. So, top four, we have Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, and Cincinnati. I do think that is the right matchup. Watching the Alabama-Georgia game was great. I did predict Alabama to win the game on the podcast. So if you check us out on the Whistle podcast, I did predict Alabama to win. I said Georgia. I've been saying this all year. Georgia does not have a quarterback. I have said this from week one. And ultimately, I said that will be their downfall to winning a national championship is they don't have the quarterback to win one. They have really, really, really good talent on the edges. They have really good talent on the line. But their key guy, the quarterback, is missing. And they don't have the system where, like at Alabama, you can plug in a good to mediocre quarterback and still win a national championship. Georgia has great talent, but it's not elite like Alabama yet. It's getting there. Don't get me wrong. It's getting there, but it's not elite yet. Another 2 years might be a different question. You might be able to plug in that three-star quarterback and win a national championship if Kirby continues what he's doing. So let's start with the matchups here. Alabama, Cincinnati. I don't know how to put it nicely, man. Congrats to Cincinnati for making it in there. I'm glad they made it in over Notre Dame. I'm tired of seeing Notre Dame in the playoffs because they literally just play Alabama and get smacked. I would rather see a non-Power 5 or quote-unquote an underdog make the cut and give Alabama a shot. Give them a run for their money. Now, Cincinnati fans have been really overhyped. They think they're going to take on Alabama and win. Alabama's going to keep rolling. Stopping that tide is not easy, and it's only going to be more difficult for Cincinnati. Looking at the matchup, Alabama's going to crush it. And the reason why they're going to crush it, Nick Saban's philosophy this month going into preparation before the game is going to be in the trenches. Okay? Alabama's going to take the trench approach and say, look, we're going to control the ball, we're going to keep Cincinnati off the field, and we're going to win this game. That's going to be their approach and mentality. I don't think it's going to be fun and gun, throwing. I would be very, very, very surprised if Bryce Young threw for over 300 yards. I think it's going to be a ground attack, very physical, and ultimately Alabama has the athletes and the power just to run over Cincinnati. And that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to line up, power right, power left, counter, trap, everything. They're literally just going to run it. And if Cincinnati somehow stacks the box, they get 9-10 guys in the box and they stop the run, Bryce Young's still going to have some threats on the outside, and they're going to outrun them. They're faster, they're stronger. I love the underdog story. I do, but I don't see them winning. I really don't. That's just my take on it. If you think Cincinnati's going to win, I'm not going to call you delusional because I do love the underdog story and the underdog mentality. But let's be realistic. Alabama keeps on rolling. They've had some tough games this year, not going to lie, but they always pull out. Like, that is what they do. They played Florida very well on the road. Florida almost came back and won. They lost to A&M on the road, but people forget they lost to A&M by like 3 points. Okay, it was like a last-second field goal for the win. It's not like they got blown out on the road. They just had a bad game. And I just don't get it. They literally, I wouldn't say killed Georgia, but they showed Georgia up. And Georgia has held every opponent to like less than 12 points this year. I don't know. I think their average points given is like 6, honestly. Like, it's super low. And Alabama dropped 40. Like, for Alabama to drop 40 points on that good of a Georgia defense, dude, all those guys are going to be playing on Sunday on Georgia's defense. They all look good. They look fast. They look strong, very physical. Alabama tore them up. So imagine what they're going to do to Cincinnati. Now, I think Cincinnati's going to come out. They're going to start throwing the ball. They're going to be on fire for a minute. But ultimately, Alabama's going to take over and do what Alabama does. Alabama's going to show up. They're not going to make any mistakes. They're not going to turn the ball over. They're going to control the ball, control the tempo of the game, and simply outplay and outcoach Cincinnati. Now, for Cincinnati to win, they're going to have to show up and not care, okay? And it's not like not care, but look, you're never going to get this opportunity against Cincinnati. I really don't think you are. And if you blow it now, they're going to be reluctant to put you in next year, okay? And that's if Fickle sticks around. But for them to win, they're going to have to set the tone, control the ball, and ultimately keep the ball away from Alabama. That's how they're going to win. And they're going to have to score, okay? And they're going to have to score a lot. It could become an offensive shootout. Honestly, I don't know. But every time they get the ball, they got to put points on the board. Whether that's doing fake punts, going for it on fourth down, faking a field goal, doing that extra mile to beat Bama. If there's one thing I've always said about trying to beat Bama, is you are not going to beat them in a traditional way. It's very tough to line up head-to-head against Alabama and win. And the reason why, number one, athletes, Bama has all the 5 stars. Okay, Jimmy's and Joe's win games. Saban's a great coach. Saban does not coach to lose. He coaches to win. He's going to make sure that you guys make all the mistakes, and he's going to capitalize off every little mistake. Whether it's a turnover, penalties, he's going to win in those margins. So for Cincinnati to win, they're going to have to play perfect, okay? And I'm talking perfect, like less than 50 yards in penalties, come away with 2 turnovers, but take points away from those turnovers. You can't just get a turnover and then go 3 and out. They have to come away with points. So it's going to be very tough for them to win. And I think Coach Fickle's going to have a great time trying to figure it out. But Nick Saban's been there. He's done this. This is no different to him. His players have been in this position, and they're going to ultimately win, in my opinion. But that's my take. So do with it what you will. Drop a comment if you think I'm dumb, think I look stupid. I really don't care. Just drop something. I like to listen and hear what you guys have to say about it. So, Michigan, Georgia. This is going to be a tough one. Once Michigan lost to Michigan State, I went out on our podcast and I was like, look, this is looking like a revolving door. Harbaugh cannot win a big game. Dear God. It's been like that for years, right? Like Florida hired Jim McElwain when Harbaugh was hired at Michigan, and now Florida's 2 coaches off of him now. They've stuck with him. I don't know how long it's been. 8 years now? I couldn't even tell you. It's been a while, 6 or 8 years. And has it really been that long? I'd have to go look at the dates, but damn, I do think it's been that long now. I think he was a good hire for Michigan. Okay, he was. With Urban Meyer at Ohio State, is going to make it really tough because he's the big name up there in the Big Ten. But the big knock on Jim Harbaugh is he can't win the big game, right? He can't win in that primetime spot against Ohio State. And this year, I thought that's how it was with Michigan State. He can't win the big game. So it's like, all right, this is looking like that revolving door. If you can't win the big game, you're going to be fired. And ultimately, that's what happens to coaches in the SEC, right? A lot of coaches have been fired because of Nick Saban. Gus Malzahn, Mark Richt. I could go on and on. Ed Orgeron, Les Miles. Like, these guys are fired because they literally can't beat Nick Saban. They could be perfect in every other game, but they can't beat Nick Saban. So I thought that's what was going to happen with Harbaugh at Ohio State, or Harbaugh and Ohio State, right? Because he can't beat Ohio State. It's not that he couldn't beat Ryan Day or Urban Meyer. He literally couldn't beat Ohio State. This year he did. He pulled it off. And I think a lot of that has to do with Ohio State. I am shocked C.J. Stroud's in the contention for Heisman. Don't get me started on that. But ultimately, they're going to play Georgia. They're going to give Georgia a really good game. It's going to be a defensive battle, in my opinion. So whatever the over is, take the under. I promise you want to take the under because I just don't see them scoring 80 points. I really don't see it being a very high-scoring game because both their offenses are really good. Don't get me wrong. But I ultimately think their defenses are going to show out. For Georgia, I think it's starting JT Daniels. I haven't really been following the quarterback battle too much, but I've said all year long, CJ Stroud, no, not CJ Stroud, where's my train of thought going? Stetson Bennett is not the guy, okay? Stetson Bennett will win you games. He's not going to win you a national championship. That's it. That's what it is. He's not going to win you a national championship. And ultimately, I said at the beginning of the year, that's going to be the downfall of Georgia. They can't win a national championship because their quarterback play is not effective. And I think that's true. So we'll see what happens there. I think Michigan, for them to win this game, they're going to have to keep the ball away from Georgia. They're just literally going to have to play keep away, keep it out of their hands, keep Georgia's defense on the field as long as you can. Tire them out, run sideline to sideline, and ultimately get them tired, beat them down, and score points. For Georgia, keys to win, they got to score. Okay? I'm not too worried about their defense. I think their defense is going to hold up over 4 quarters. But if they can hold on to the ball, score points, hold on to it long enough to keep it away from Michigan, they'll win the game. I think going into the national championship contention, it's going to be Bama and Georgia. Those are my final thoughts on that. So if you got any comments, questions, or concerns, drop a comment below. If you haven't, please subscribe. And if you want to, check us out on the Whistle Podcast. We try and drop episodes every Thursday. Dive into college football, NFL, and ultimately have a great time. All right, guys. Have a great day. Peace.